So, last but not the least, I keep saying this because this is a very important capability that you can build. Big data and analytics is a very important two-dimensional element, right. Again, data and analytics go together. Just data alone or analytics alone is not going to cut it. You have to have both data and analytics in order to actually draw insights and develop intelligence, if you will, right. So, insights and intelligence are two different terms. Intelligence is basically you're applying the context to the insight that you get, and then you draw upon some sort of hypothesis or validation, for example, right, of the hypothesis. So, big data analytics, what is big data, right? We have heard this term over and over again, used by many different entities, people, and so on. In my view, it's really these four things, 4 V's: volume, variety, velocity, and variance, right. Volume is about volume of data, that's very clear, right. When you talk about big data, most people think about the first one, that's volume, right. But interestingly enough, variety is actually more important than volume, right. You may, the small mom and pop store that I was talking about earlier, there is not much data compared to obviously Walmart, right, the other end of the spectrum, where they collect a lot of data, right, terabytes of data every minute, right. So, variety of data becomes important because variety provides different contexts in which this data has basically been generated, right. Data coming from Facebook, data coming from your mobile app responses, right. Data coming back from you from Snapchat responses, feedback, are all different because you may have customers move from one of these channels to the other. You may have the same customer go from one to the other, but each of these are being used by different segments of the customers in different ways, right, very complicated, right. So, variety provides a lot of context and gives you a lot more sensitivity to your business, to your predictive model or recommendation model, right. Variety is very important. In fact, that's very core. Velocity is a time component, right. You get bursts of information, or somebody comments about something that President Trump tweeted about, for example, right, and so people are responding back with tweets, right, and those can come in fits and starts and bursts, right, peaks and valleys, and that's a big characteristics of what we call as big data, right. So, this is time sensitive. This can happen any time of the day, right. So, time sensitive velocity, right. And the last one is variance, right. Each time you get data from the same source could be is variant, because it's a lot of it is unstructured data, number one, right. Data coming from Facebook updates, for example, is unstructured because you can basically punch in anything you want in there, right. So, unstructured data. So, variance, basically your unstructured data could be anything in there. Audio, video, images are also unstructured data, right. So, there is a large degree of variance. Even your text tweet that comes from every tweet is maximum limit is 140 characters, but not all the 140 characters are used, right. So, there is variance in many ways, if you will, right. So, volume, variety, velocity, and variance, this is what creates this big data phenomenon, right. Every enterprise is awash with data, but just data alone is not enough, right. You have to know how to extract insights from that, right. So, every company is now just beginning to gather all of this data, right, just beginning to do that. There are many companies that have already collected a lot of data on these so called big data technologies called Hadoop, for example. You may have heard of that. So, we are going to go deep into that when we do the digital marketing technology and infrastructure course, and also in the digital marketing research and analytics course as well, right. So, every company is awash with data. Even small companies have a lot of data, right, 10,000 visitors a day, for example, for that mom and pop store. So, that's a lot of data to deal with, right. So, now data and information are becoming prime assets of the company, right? It's not just your business process, which is an asset, right? You have physical products and equipment and so on, inventory and so on, those are also assets, right? But you also now have digital assets. Every company has digital assets, data and information, and also your relationship with your customers, prospects, partners and so on. Those are digital relationships, right? It's no longer done on phone calls or paper alone, right? You can still do it, but your primary means of interacting with most of your ecosystem partners is digital. You don't even have, it's very low touch, right? In some cases, of course, you do need high touch along with your digital network ecosystem that you work with. But in general, what I am trying to get at is this data and information are becoming extremely important assets that you can share with your partners and so on, right? So, a sharing of data is another critical component of every digital company today, right? How you share data and how you actually combine data with other partners can provide value for both companies, right? And big data is extremely critical to compete, survive and thrive. There are many examples that I can give you of how companies got basically dusted, gone out of business basically, right? A lot of the retailers that we are hearing recently have had problems trying to survive, right? Because of the onslaught, growth in e-commerce is actually hurting brick and mortar retail stores, because the retail stores have a big disadvantage, economic disadvantage, which is being maintaining the store overhead, right? And setting up in many locations, right? And it costs thousands of dollars to rent, right? And keep the lights on. So the economics are not working in the digital age, right? That's the reason that they are in trouble. It's not that they don't have a good business model, but that's the nature of what's happening, right? Blockbuster definitely is an example of what happened because of the changes in disruption that happen in the digital world, right? You started streaming movies. You no longer want to go and rent, right? You don't have to drive up in the rain and go pick up the DVD rental and remember to return it after 2 days or get extra charge on it, right? So those things are all gone. So because of this new digital model. Analytics, ability to use data science to drive outcomes. That's a very, very important advantage you can have, you can build. This is all part of the digital advantage. All of these elements that I talked to you about, 5 two-dimensional elements, each of them have digital components. That's why you can create a significant digital advantage that is unique to your business. It is difficult to imitate, right? Only for your business, right? Along these 5 areas, 5 elements, if you will, right? So the must have core competency for every company. Analytics is something that you need to have. It's not an option. It's a mandatory core competency that you need to have, right? And you also need to know how to extract and use insights, right? Take action. It's both art and a science. It's not everything. So just because the prediction model is telling you that you have 25% or 90% chance of meeting the forecast at this discount rate, doesn't mean that you have to take that, right? So you have to figure out how to trust that data, how to use your intuition along with the data insight that came through, and then decide, right? And the last point is analytics enables all business functions, every business function, right, including administrative functions for data-driven decision making, right? So with data, you can optimize, you can grow, you can figure out how to adjust, right? That's the power of big data analytics. So this is the 5th element, and I think I have the label wrong. Big data analytics, it should be 5, not 4. Okay, it will be corrected in the slide. So thanks, and I'll continue on this session number 3. We're going to move to the digital 5 forces next.